Hi, I'm Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Sagittarius for July 2018. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Check out my new moon and full moon blogs and other astrology and other blogs on that site to support you in making the most of the transits. Also, if you'd love to learn astrology with me, there may be some slots left in my astrology apprenticeship program. So, what is going on in the month of July? I am calling the theme of this month for Sagittarius Glorious Fruition. And I'm going to go into all the details as to why I think that is so. There is going to be a lot of energy in Leo. Okay, so even though the sun, when we're starting out the month, the sun is in Cancer. And Cancer energy in general is can be a little bit antagonistic to Sag fire, right? Because it's a water sign and it can dampen our spirits. But it's not that there also can't be positive manifestations on it, you know, very much home focus, cozy, inward, internal things. But Mercury, and then Mercury in retrograde, so it's spending more time, and Venus are all in Leo. And you will notice, if you pay attention, that every year around this time, when the planets start to get into Leo, they light up your Sag placements because they make trines, and trines are the most fabulous aspects in astrology. So every planet that moves through Leo goes and makes a trine with all of your Sag placements. So whether you have one or whether you have like 9, like some people, not naming any names, me, then every Leo placement is just going to boom, sparkle, 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 hit those Sag planets and just light them up like the 4th of July. So that's very exciting. So you'll notice that, you know, even though, yes, I'm telling you Mars is in retrograde and it's good to rest, which I'll get back to that, you will notice that inspiration will strike at this time, motivation will often strike at this time, things coming to fruition will often happen in a big way for you, and this is every year around this time. That's one piece of what's going on. Another piece, we have so many pieces of what's going on as to why I think that this is going to be a major fruition month for you, for us. So I'm a Sag too. Our ruler, Jupiter, is going direct. Yay! Oh my gosh. So, yes, there are wonderful things about Jupiter being in retrograde. However, Jupiter is our ruling planet. It rules the optimism, the expansion, the growth that Sages are all about. When our ruler is sleeping, especially this guy, he's not giving us the benefits and blessings in the ways that we're used to having them, okay? And that can be a little depressive, it can be a little surprising, you can feel a little less supported. But when, as soon as, sometimes to the day, you know, the week, in the beginning of July, when Jupiter goes direct, you might start to feel more sparkle, more enthusiasm, more certainty, more like yourself. And the areas of life that Jupiter was accentuating before it went retrograde 4 months before July, will start to light back up again. Okay, so Jupiter for early degree placements is in the 12th house. Jupiter for middle and late degree placements is in the 11th house. You are an early degree placement if your birthday is the first 10 days of the sign, in its first 10 days of the sign, or if you're watching for your rising sign around 0 to 9 degrees, you are a middle degree placement if your birthday is in the middle 10 days, second 10 days of the sign, or from 10 to 19 degrees, and your late degree placement if you are in the last 10 days of the sign or last 10 degrees for your rising or moon, so 20 to 29 degrees. Okay, so you early degree placements, you grouped there in the first 10 degrees or days. You had been having Jupiter expanding your 12th house, and the 12th house is like the attic of your life. Okay, this is the place where all of the yucky stuff that we avoid lives. This is the place that all of the hidden talents, hidden gifts, surprise treasures that we are not aware of also live. Okay, so everything that you would find in an attic, you could find something that's worth a ton of money, or you could find something that's really gross that you want to deal with. So Jupiter, and this is also your intuition, this is your connection with the all that is. So when Jupiter is in this placement, it's accentuating your connection to the divine, people who have crossed over, different beings who are not in this dimensional reality. Your awareness of utilization of and integration of past life and present previous life, like childhood times or earlier times. You can be going back. What Jupiter is doing in the 12th house is basically going back to collect soul fragments, pieces of you that you've distributed in different places over different times. You're gathering those pieces back to enhance your full empowerment and full expression in this lifetime. So when it's in retrograde, it's still working in these arenas, but sometimes the effects are less obvious. However, many people may have had seemingly spontaneous healing, overcoming of fears, feelings of peace come in, and so Jupiter in retrograde could bring that also in this place, but when it's moving forward, it's like the gains from the integration work that you've done can really start to be experienced. For the rest of you who have Jupiter in the 11th house, this is the energies of groups, teams, organizations, whether you're in a team or group, whether you're leading it or whether you're part of it as a participant, internet-based projects, anything having to do with social media, marketing, advertising, friends, friendships. Jupiter has been seeking to expand this platform in your life. Humanitarian efforts are also there. So when Jupiter was in retrograde, there could be some slowdowns with those things. But when Jupiter goes direct, your internet stuff can light up in a huge way, your group stuff can light up in a huge way, you leading groups could light up in a huge way, anything having to do with that arena of life. Okay, so that's another thing that I say we're on fire about, is our ruler is direct. Yay, thank goodness. Okay, so something else that is going on is the eclipse. So the way that I'm breaking up these 3 eclipses that we're having this summer or this winter for y'all down under is I'm doing the first eclipse, which is the partial solar eclipse at 20 degrees of Cancer. I'm talking about how that can manifest for Saggy placements in my June report. So even if we're in July, go back and listen to the June report because I talk about that then. Part of why I talk about that then is because we can experience manifestations from eclipses even 4 to 6 weeks before the actual eclipse. So June is hot prime time for notable things involving that first eclipse. But the eclipse actually occurs in July. So you could see many of the manifestations I talked about as potentials for the June report. You could see those in July or even August. So check that report out for this. So Annie Botticelli, June, Sag 2018. This report, we're going to talk about the second eclipse and where it's going to hit for Saggies. That's the July 27th total lunar eclipse at 4 degrees of Aquarius. And then the third eclipse, which is in August, we're going to talk about those manifestations for Saggies in the August report. Okay, so between these 3 months, we're talking about the different placements. The first thing to note is that we are midway through a cycle of these Aquarius eclipses, these Aquarius Leo eclipses that started in the beginning of 2017 and move into 2019. So even though the eclipse is an isolated astronomical event that happens on a day, its influence, as we discussed, can manifest 4 to 6 weeks or even more in a major way astrologically before that or after that. But also, you're moving along a continuum in these areas of life, okay? So Sagittarius have been restructuring the energy of how they make money and their stuff versus other people's stuff, okay? So your relationship with your money, how you make money, and receiving money from other people's work, other people's resources, borrowing money, loaning money, anything having to do with shared resources versus your own individual resources. So you're having in these years this restructuring going on with your stuff versus other people's stuff and how you're combining them and how you're healing the patterns and how you're empowering yourself and others and how you're going deeper into relationship and how you're changing the way that you make money. So there's a very good chance for many of you that a way that you were making money is going to go away. That could cause a crisis or some kind of stress, you know, if you lose an income source. But there's a very good chance that that income source will be replaced in a new and better way, and something that you like more, and something that is more empowering to your relationships with other people. Sagittarius tend to be super independent, even though they're gregarious. They're super independent. They have all, they like to have their own flow. But there are a lot of things going on for Sagittarius about working with couples, working with partnerships, working with collaborations, and letting the things that other people have worked for benefit you. Something that I know about Sagittarius, because I am one, not just because I'm an astrologer, is that we don't necessarily like to take other people's resources that they offer to us because of the conditions that come with those things, right? So if someone is like, here, I'll take care of these things for you, and then you're thinking, okay, how is this going to curb my freedom, right? This is the big question that Sagittarius have. How is this going to curb my freedom? Okay, is this going to, it might enhance your freedom because you don't have to make the money maybe or whatever, manage the resource. But if the person or entity that is offering you this is holding something over you and you're losing freedom, then you don't want to have any part of it, right? So that's why sometimes we like to do things ourselves, because we don't want to be owned or dictated to from anybody. So that's good, that's great. We create wonderful things from that, but it can also block some intimacy because there are places where we have fear of that intimacy that we can break through, and this eclipse cycle is assisting us to do this. Another way this eclipse cycle is showing up has to do with how we're sharing our word and our message. So the 3rd and 9th houses are going to be accentuated more. You'll see either what I just described or what I'm about to describe, depending on your different placements. So using your word, your wisdom that comes through you, either written or spoken, to share and help other people. Okay, so how you do that is being restructured, and this eclipse process is helping. So how you are doing that might end, which means that there's more energy being opened up to how you can now next do that. Again, moving along this upward spiral. Sagittarius is always moving along this upward spiral. Okay, so this energy in the 2nd house can also manifest not just as a money thing, it can manifest as a value thing. Okay, so for some of you who have valued material things, you could have a restructuring where you're trying to simplify. For some of you who have valued just living very simply, you might decide you want to have more security, and you want to have more structure, and you want to have a little bit more certainty financially. And so you could be building towards material gains, or you could be simplifying. But something having to do with your values as it relates to material things could very drastically change. Okay, Sagittarius, so these are the things that are most on my minds for you individually as Sagittarius is. Now I want to talk about these general transits that are definitely going to be affecting you. Certain dates to look out for, some general ways that eclipses can affect everybody, and also some more about the Mars retrograde. Because Mars retrograde is this very important transit when we have permission to chill out. Okay, everyone has permission to chill out. Also, you have permission to be comfortably productive, but you don't want to force anything. Okay, so if things are coming to you, you can say yes to them. Lots of things can be manifesting and coming to you, and you can definitely roll with that. But as far as trying to force anything, that's where you would get in trouble. So in Mars retrograde, you don't want to do that. So we'll go into more of that. Also, if you'd like a written horoscope by me, then you can go to my new website, cozybysweetstarlight.com. At cozybysweetstarlight.com, that's my lifestyle blog. I'm also bringing up and coming bloggers into the lights, getting their work out to others. So you'll see a nice display of different kinds of blogs there, including my written horoscopes for you, always a month early. So you'll definitely find additional things that I didn't talk about in that blog, and some written things that I did mention also. Okay, so check those out. If you're a traveler, which of course if you're a Sag, you're probably a traveler. So am I. That's why I have my new website, which is called astrologykissedtravelbliss.com. And on Astrology Kissed Travel Bliss, I have monthly astrology travel reports. So travel astrology for each month. So there are things that you would be specific for traveling that you would want to know. And also other fun blogs there. Okay, so let's go into the general transits now. So the theme of the month for all signs for July 2018 is 2 eclipses equals major transformation. We've been talking about these eclipses. We've got 3 in this cycle. 2 of the eclipses in this cycle are in July. The 3rd one is in August. Whenever it's eclipse time, drastic changes, expected and unexpected new paths open up. Very often there's a complete surprise trajectory change that takes us in a completely different direction. And in some cases it brings to fruition things intended or planned, and sometimes it can shorten the time frame for something that we had originally thought would be further out, where we wake up one day and we had planned something for the future and all of a sudden it's here now. So this eclipse time is a very powerful time. And there are other things going on besides these eclipses. So we're going to talk about these astrological transits to note for July. Mars is still in retrograde. So Mars just turned officially into retrograde at the end of June. I have been talking about this for a long time because it's a very long transit. And there is a period of time before and after a retrograde transit of a personal planet like Mars that is very long, and you start to feel the energies well before the retrograde actually occurs. Okay, so we've been talking about this Mars retrograde energy. We started feeling it in May, it officially turned in June, and now in July we are fully into Mars retrograde. So this Mars retrograde is bringing permission to rest and to focus on relaxation and recreation and what I like to call comfortable productivity. It's not that you can't get anything done in Mars retrograde. You absolutely can. You just have to follow the cues. It's not a time to be over ambitious unless, of course, if you have Mars retrograde at birth, sometimes you can get more done during this transit than you do normally. But you would know it, because if you're trying to do something and it's working out and it's flowing really easily and you're not having roadblocks and you're not having frustrations, then that's totally fine. When you need to take the cue to rest and back off is when you're pushing and it's not working out the way that you wanted it to. So instead of just continuing to push, taking a step back is what is well indicated when Mars is in retrograde. So to second this notion, we have other astrological forces that are saying the same thing. Mercury is going to go into retrograde, and that's going to be on July 25th. And once that happens, it's going to further bring the past back into the present. So the shadow period for Mercury retrograde starts early in July. So essentially the whole month is very much in this energy of things coming up from the past. So opportunities from the past, ideas from the past, projects from the past are all very much indicated to focus on at this time. At the same time as all of this energy is going on, we have the eclipses happening, and the eclipses may bring change and opportunities to act on, whether you want them or are ready for them or not, or maybe you are. But since there's so much energy pointing towards the past, a lot of times it will be things from the past finally coming to fruition now. So it's totally fine to say yes to the things that come to you. You just want to have an awareness of maybe not having all of the information, maybe the project being different or turning out different than you think. And the big key here is to be the spider. Okay, the eclipses and the retrogrades both tell us the same story, which is be the spider. So spiders weave their web and they wait for the food to come to them. So that's the kind of time that this July energy is really bringing. It's bringing this just chilling out and waiting and seeing what comes to you, and then you can work with what comes to you as it comes. Okay, so we've also got 5 trines this month. Trines are the most wonderful harmonious aspect in astrology. So I'm going to give you some dates to watch here. Now, the dates that I'm going to list, I'm going to go into some detail about the transits, but if you'd like more detail about the transits I'm talking about or transits that I'm not talking about that are also occurring, then definitely go to anniehelpsyou.com, sign up for my free email newsletter, and you'll receive monthly written reports a month before the relevant time. If you've already signed up for my newsletter and you're not receiving my reports, they're either going into spam, promotions, social, or events folders in your email. So look for them in there and then transfer them into your inbox so that you get my mailings. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the dates to note. The first one, actually, I'm going to just list these sweet spot dates. They're trines, they're beautiful aspects where things can gel together in a wonderful way, where there's just little sweet spots. So in the days around July 5th, July 8th, July 11th, July 13th and 14th, July 25th, we're having this beautiful aspect of trines on all of those days. So look out for little boosts at that time. The next date to note is July 12th, and that is this partial solar eclipse at 20 degrees of Cancer. So for everyone, every sign, this can bring new things involving home, family, houses, real estate, anything involving home. If you're an architect, it could involve your work. You know, anything that involves homes or housing or family or childhood or psychology, childhood psychology especially. All of these things are very high on the list of potential manifestations from this solar eclipse energy. So in the days around July 12th, you'll especially feel this eclipse energy, but remember that you could have gotten news about this manifestation that may come in as soon as May, because we've got like 6 to even sometimes 8 weeks ahead of time is when pieces of the story start coming in for these eclipses, okay? But that is a date to note. I always try to avoid doing anything important on the eclipse dates. You just kind of want to try to be available for whatever shows up. On July 27th, the second eclipse is a total lunar eclipse, and this one is at 4 degrees, almost 5 degrees of Aquarius. So here we'll see a lot of activity along the lines of friends, friendships, acquaintances, social media, groups, humanitarian efforts, internet-based projects, large organizations, anything having to do with innovation or technology. So look for those things. And again, this stuff could come in months before or months after. We're moving along a continuum with these eclipses, but that's on July 27th is when the actual event occurs. Okay, so some dates to look out for that could bring some challenges. And you'll notice that some of the dates I listed for the trines that have some sweet spots, there are also some challenging aspects on those dates. So you may feel them on the same day, something positive happening, something challenging happening, or you may feel one day it's a little pocket of a sweet spot and the next day is a little bit of a challenge. It's always hard to be black and white about how these energies are going to manifest, but I just want to list them so that you can be aware. On the 5th of July, on the 9th, on the 24th, on the 25th, and on the 26th and 27th, we've got challenging aspects on those dates. We have some squares, we have some oppositions, and these bring pressure to change, basically, or put pressure on viewpoints or ways things have been done. You know, they're basically, I describe them as the pressure. Well, the squares are the pressure that creates the diamond. So sometimes if we have a diamond that we want to create in our lives or a vision for this diamond, we have to do something about it. And if we're not doing something about it, or we're not sure what to do, this pressure comes in the form of this square. And it either shows us what we have to do or makes us fed up so that we actually take action. So you might see that energy show up this month from those squares. The oppositions bring overstimulation. Overstimulation is when there's a lot of busyness in opposing forces in our lives. So we've got an opposition in Leo and Aquarius on the 5th, so that could have to do with your own creativity versus the group, like your own flow versus the group flow. And then we've got another opposition on the 24th with Venus and Virgo opposing Neptune and Pisces. So this can be a lot of push and pull about the seen world and the unseen world, the logical world and the abstract world, and the intuitive world. You know, so you'll see some overstimulation with trying to balance being in multiple dimensions at once. Okay, so the things to note for this month: lots of sweet spots, some challenging points, and definitely massive opportunities for change, massive opportunities for things coming to fruition. The keynote here is to try to not plan too much unless you're very intuitively directed or unless it comes to you to be planned for that time and that's out of your hands. And if something comes to you, then it's definitely fine to say yes to it. Just be aware that there may be changes that are continuing to happen over the rest of the retrogrades, and just to navigate as consciously as possible, leaving as much flexibility in your arrangements as possible. Mars retrograde is continuing this energy of relaxing, taking vacations, taking trips, doing nothing. And in that space of doing nothing, this is one of the most magical things that I love about retrograde. So people say, well, you can't do anything in retrogrades, and it's totally not true. It's just not a time to push. It's not a time to go against the tides. But what you can do, I always call it the shavasana of transits, because in that few minutes of shavasana at the end of a yoga practice, that integration, that quiet time is when the insights come, when the clarity comes, when the important pieces come, when the breakthroughs come. So this Mars retrograde, this month of July, is like this shavasana point where from that quiet space, pure genius can pop in and change everything. So these are the things that are most on my mind for the month of July. If you would love to learn astrology with me, check out my astrology apprenticeship program. If you would like to have an option for this recreation and retreat time to best use this Mars energy, maybe you would love to see me live at my Soul Connections retreat in gorgeous Siesta Key, Florida, which is on the Gulf Coast in Sarasota. I'm doing a live retreat where I'm having a small group of people do lots of fun things, restoration and healing and fun and relaxation, going to magical places that I've found in this area, which is where my primary residence is at this point. So I would love to see you at my Soul Connections retreat. You can see more about that at anniehelpsyou.com. And if you scroll down, you'll see a banner for it and you can check it out. So I hope to see you live. There might be some slots still available depending on when you are looking at this. Definitely check out my hubby's offerings, B.R. Newman, at IAMHELIOS.com, IamHelios.com. He's got lots of sound frequencies that help to balance out challenging transits and also help to empower you during the transits that we have going on. So definitely check his site out. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.